we're here. Today I want to talk about 5 different mistakes that people do when throwing the rear knee. I'm going to take your fighting stance here. I'm ready, so I'm going to put my right foot back. The first mistake is that they don't step. Even if I'm stepping in place here, if the opponent is coming in, I want to make sure that I take that step, and then I knee. Take that drive step, and I knee. If I'm covering the distance, I want to make sure that I push off the back foot. So the step is actually off the back foot. I push off the back foot. I'm not stepping and trying to drag my leg. It's very slow. It's going to take away from your power. Now, when I push off my back foot, my knee is bent. I want to make sure that I drive step it. So I'm going to be going all the way up, nice and strong with my leg here, knee, and come back. I go on the ball of my foot. So I go step here, knee, and come back. Taking that step, knee, and come back. Now for the step, I want to make sure that I point my foot slightly outwards just like this, because that opens up my hip. Here, my hip's open. If I step sideways this way, if I step too forward, then it closes up my hip. I won't be able to extend my hip all the way out. It causes a little bit of trouble for me. Alright, so I want to make sure that I step with my foot just slightly facing outwards. It opens up my hip, makes it nice and easy for me to knee. So that brings us to our second mistake, which is not extending the hip. The hip actually goes first, and then the knee. So when I take my drive step here, I'm already extending my hip. So if you notice, I'm already extending my hip. It kind of looks like a dance here, going back and forth. And you can actually do that drill. Just go step, come back, come back. Make sure you're extending this side of the hip, and then the knee goes. So I step, knee, all right? A lot of times, people will break the movement in two. So for example, they'll throw the knee out there and then try to extend their hip secondly, and it looks like two movements. So I'm here, and I try to do that knee secondly. I want to make sure that actually the hip goes first here, and then I knee. You can use that movement, breaking the knee in two, for close clinching. So I'm here, when I clinch here, I can stick my knee in there, and then open up, pull the head down, and make that room with that type of knee. But for this knee, making sure that we hit the stomach here, I want to make sure that I extend the hip here. Good? Extend the hip at the beginning, and then I throw my knee in there. Now, it's very important that you throw your hip in there, because if not, your knee's going to go up just like this. It's great for self-defense, growing knees, growing attacks are great, but for Muay Thai, you want to make sure you don't hit your opponent low. You want to make sure you land your knee right here in the middle, all right? So make sure you extend that hip, taking that step here, hip, and then knee, and then come back. All right, so the third mistake is not pointing our foot. When we point our foot, it makes our knee point here, and it gives us a little bit more balance. So instead of keeping the leg like this or the foot like this, I want to make sure that I point my foot this way. So I'm going to be taking that step, extending that hip, and then knee, I point my foot. Knee, I point my foot. Now, for the fourth mistake is leaning back too much. I know a lot of times we want to make that knee reach as far as we can, but leaning back will actually take away from that. When we throw our knee, our chin is actually down, our core is nice and tight here, and it gives us balance. If you try to do this, you're going to be off balance, and even if you hit your target, it's not going to be with a lot of power, and you're going to go backwards because your mass, you're pulling it backwards by putting your head all the way back. Chin downs, strong stomach here, keeping the head between our legs still, our hip goes forward, or our head stays almost in the same spot. Here, here. Instead of going all the way like this, putting our head back and keeping it in the same spot here. And that way you're going to have a lot of balance, you're going to have a lot of power by throwing your mass forward and keeping that balance. Now for the fifth mistake, it's about stepping also again. When we do our step, we want to open up, but we also want to line up our knee with our target. So if my back here is my target, and I step here on the side, right? If I'm starting my knee here on the side, then the person can actually sweep me very easily. So I want to make sure that every time I line up my knee with the middle of their stomach, and I step outside of their foot. I step outside of their foot, line up the knee, and then I knee. Here, if I step right in front here, then that person can easily sweep me, and a lot of times it might make it hard to hit my target, because now the target is supposed to be here. If I line up my leg, it's going to be here. I want to make sure that I line up here with my knee, so I have to step here. So again, two things is that it'll make it harder for your opponent to sweep you if you don't step in the middle of their legs. And secondly, it's going to give you a better target, a lot more power if you just line up your leg with your target. Alright guys, hope the tips are helping you guys out in your training. If you have any questions, please comment below, and see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I want to introduce you to my new book, Fighter's Manual to Cutting Weight and Peak Performance. Make sure you grab a copy down in the description below. I've left the link, will bring you to my website. You can download the book there. This book is packed with information, including fighter tips and training schedules, different eating lifestyles, and 5 bonuses that will take your performance to the next level. Make sure you grab your copy today, and like always, subscribe to my channel for new content coming up every single week. See you guys soon.